Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the October edition of the Town of Kent Zoning Board of Appeals. Before we begin our calendar this evening, please join me in rising and pledging allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I'll remind all the applicants this evening that when you are called up, remember to please sign in. Remember to position the microphone so we can hear you. And if you have any green return receipt stubs, please bring them up to us. Okay? So the first item on the agenda tonight is a holdover, and that is of Keith Parker, 27 Geneva Drive. Good evening, Mr. Parker.
Good evening.
Please sign in. Hi, Mr. Parker. So, as you remember, we held over your application for an additional month because there was some questions, and the board still has some questions regarding the drainage that's associated with the retaining wall. Did you get the request for maps? Yes. Okay. Thank you. You should have got a 500-gallon driveway. Hi, Mr. Parker. Can you explain the 500-gallon dry well?
500-gallon concrete dry well.
Okay.
It's a large.
It's concrete. It's a 500-gallon concrete tank.
Yeah, like a precast tank. Yeah.
And where does that lead to? When the effluent enters that tank, where does it go?
It would go out the bottom.
I'm sorry?
It would go drain down to the bottom of the tank.
And where does that drain go?
Just into the earth.
Into the
Just
earth.
into the earth? Okay. But it is 500 gallons, correct?
Yeah, it would be 500 gallons a minimum.
That was one of the considerations that we had, because I, for one, on the site visit to you and my fellow board members, we were not privy to viewing the drain line that you have. And we weren't sure where the termination points were, and we just wanted to make sure that there wasn't, that any water not processed by that drain line wasn't going to flow onto the neighbor's property. That's a primary concern of ours. I'll open it up to the board members for commentary.
So, Mr. Parker, I do have a question about the exiting from the dry well. Are you going to have an overflow and that will be going out to the street? Am I understanding that from this drawing?
No, there was
Okay.
no overflow.
The extension beyond the dry well?
No, that extension would come from the rest of the wall that way, towards the dry well from both sides.
So is the dry well, so maybe I'm just not orienting myself correctly. Maybe you could help me along here. The dry well is going to be towards the bottom of the driveway or towards the top of the driveway?
In front of the garage behind the house.
Okay.
And the water, the water that collects into that dry well, what level is it going out via an outlet into the
Yeah, dry well, you don't have a example of what the dry well, who you're gonna buy it from, anything like that, where it's coming
No.
from?
Is it gonna be precast, or are you doing it
Yeah,
yourself?
no,
You're not
precast.
doing block?
Yeah.
Not
it's-
doing block,
it-
precast.
It looks like
Okay.
a septic tank, just perforated
Okay.
with an open bottom, I'm assuming?
Yeah, open bottom, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
And then fill around the dry well? I'm assuming it's gonna be the same, what are you putting in, a crushed, 3/4 inch crushed stone? Is that going
Yeah.
around the dry well also? Is that what the
Yeah, they
fill
go
will
around
be?
the drywall.
Okay. I just want to be assured, especially for the concerned neighbors, I'm sure you do too, that they're not going to get rain coming across. And I feel honestly that you're making a good attempt at getting this water out to where it needs to be, or at least not into a neighbor's yard at this point. So I don't think I have any other questions at this point. I don't know if anybody else on the board does.
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
You know, my only concern was that the water not go next door, and this seems to address it as best you can do.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Do we need to hear from anybody else?
Is anyone here would like to speak on behalf of this application?
Me and my neighbor have some.
Please come up, please come on up.
Thanks, Woody.
Hello.
Hi, sign in, please.
So some of what we have concern.
Go in front of the mic so we
Oh,
can hear you.
Some of the issues and concerns that I have are not basically about the, the variance that was discussed. About a month ago, I had brought up a lot of concerns, which, you know, we just would like some answers about, and haven't received them from the town. It was discussed that there's the 3 sheds that are on the property were supposed to be coming down once the concrete was laid in the large garage, and that hasn't been done yet. And one is next to my fence that has stuff on the top of it, and I have to put something there so I don't have to look at that. And we still have not had anything done about that. Again, this has been an ongoing thing for about 5 years. It's like a parking lot there. I don't know what's happening there. Just a lot of concerns about that. You know, I'd like to find out that we just don't get much luck dealing with the town. You know, when we call the codes enforcer, et cetera. So I'd just like to know when that shed is going to come down that's next to my fence. Nothing's been done there. It's just such a extreme eyesore that we've had to look at. Again, you know, of course, the house is, nothing's in the house. There's no lights, no nothing. But I know that there is other concerns.
Yeah, I got. Good evening.
Did you sign in, sir?
I did. Good evening, everybody. Again, my name is Marcelo,
Can you
and
speak up, please?
my English is not a perfect English, but you guys probably can understand my concern, or we live in the area. So we're next to Parker. He's in between. So The previous owner put a fence there for purposes to have a privacy. I got no more privacy there because he increased his yard. He put so many dump trucks over there. The highest point is 5 feet or 5.5. So right now I got no privacy. My wife got no privacy. 2 years she can't go outside and take a sun. Now, let me try to say something else. We don't know where the septic tank is and the leach field. That dirt part probably is, right now is on top of the leach field. And the other concern is the power line that goes to that garage. It's bigger as the street power line. It's so huge and thick. We don't know what he's planning to do there. Business, not allowed. I'm not gonna stand there and listen to bang, bang, bang all day long. The other day he was pumping diesel to his truck, to his tractor. How about spilling diesel or whatever? I'm concerned with that. And we got fire trucks here, not hydrants. So we don't know what the heck is going on over there, my friend. So 2 weeks ago or a week ago, there was a trailer there. His friend came by, tried to get the trailer out of there, selling the trailer. I mean, he did that garage for what? To storage? Friends, or you dealing with selling, buying and selling stuff, and that's not the place to do that. That's a neighborhood. So I'm not happy with that. And the other day he was saying to somebody else, oh, see, he was talking to somebody else, and this person was telling me, oh, you happy, but not everybody else around is happy. Yeah. How come I'm gonna be happy with that? Huge garage. That's not a garage, period. We came talk to Mr. Walter. Nobody advised us what to do. It's ridiculous. That size, it's not a garage, that's a storage. And there is a lot of stuff in there already. And we don't know what's next. Why that power line is that big? Can I have an answer for that? Hazard things? I don't know what's in there.
I totally sympathize with with the way you feel, okay? That, please understand. But a lot of the things that you mentioned are not the purpose of this hearing tonight.
I understand.
We appreciate you bringing them to light, but if you
Right.
do see something that you see may be objectionable, there's an appropriate department that you can report it to, and if it eventually makes its way here again, then we'll address it. But right now, we are addressing, and I have to tell you that we did our due diligence on this retaining wall, and we wanted to make sure that every effort was made to ensure that the runoff from that drain would not affect the neighbors' properties. Other than that, there was nothing much more that we could do. But we did do our due diligence, and I think that on this particular purpose, Mr. Parker has made a good faith effort to install a 500-gallon dry well. So I think for this particular application, he's done everything that he could do. The other concerns, the height of the building, we cannot address that. We can't do that.
Who do we go to get a meeting about our concerns, on each side of this?
Well, the height,
Mess.
the height of the original structure, the garage, from what I understand, it, he was totally within his right to build that.
I'm not certain about that. That's what was told to us, and we weren't notified that that was even gonna be put up. When I came home that night to see the frame, I got sick to my stomach.
Well, that's why you weren't notified, because it was within,
And the
From
build,
what I'm understanding, it was over. it was over, from what I'm understanding and hearing.
the size.
But again, for something that was put there like that, we should have been notified. Again, when I pulled into the road that night, I could not believe what the town allowed this man to do. And nothing has been done. It's been a disaster, that yard, for 5 years. Nothing with the house, 3 sheds, all these vehicles. And then to put up with this big
And we
commercial
did try
garage?
to find out where to go. We asked Mr. Walter, we asked Jane. Jane.
She didn't want to be bothered.
No one could tell us where to go and talk about this before it was done. So it's insane. I heard Kent Lakes, it's a town, they preserve things, but not in my area.
Well, there are various departments that address these types of issues, and ultimately, if you feel like you're not getting satisfaction, you can even go to the town supervisor's office, but,
We tried
We
that.
did
you know, I,
Didn't want to be
No
bothered, and then
one
said that we have to deal with
gave us-
Mr. Looney and Mr. Walters.
Any answer?
all I can say is I sympathize. I sympathize. But we're here
I mean,
tonight for this.
I've never been, nothing to deal with anything like this before. I mean, it's just I just don't even have words for what we've witnessed here in the last few years. It's not right, I live with my mom, and her father, I think I told you, her father built that house back in the early 50s, and we're still there and have never been through anything like this before. Never. It's just, to try to put up something so we don't have to see, it's not right,
Yeah.
It's not right.
Well, despite everything else, rest assured that on this particular application, we did, I feel, the best we could do. Andy, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, no, I just want to add a couple of things. I mean, I agree with everything that's been said, but with respect to the height, my understanding is that a height of up to 30 feet was allowed. Now,
20.
I mean,
It's accessory structure.
Have you men been over there to
I
see
have
this?
been over there, and I agree, it
It's-
looms. But as to,
It's obscene, it's obscene in a little yard, obscene.
well, my understanding is the zoning law has been changed, so that is no.
It has,
But
to do
at the,
that and then allow something like this?
but what I'm trying to say is it was 30 feet at the time, and if that's not over 30 feet, the reason you weren't notified was because it was allowed, and therefore, unlike tonight, where there's an application for allowing something that would not otherwise be permitted by the
But
zoning
when we
code.
heard garage, we thought, oh, garage, not this. This belongs in a business area. I don't even know how to explain it.
Well,
Not
right
on
now
this
it's
tiny little piece of
storage. He's storing things. And he's gonna keep storing things over there. We don't know what, and we don't know why that power line that big. We still don't know. We need to know.
Those are questions that are not privy to the building department. We don't do electrical. And the issues that you've brought up here tonight have been addressed to you numerous times by multiple people working for the town, including the supervisor, my office, and the code enforcement officer. And in the last email, I strongly suggested that this is a neighbor dispute between you and Mr. Parker, and that you're trying to get the town in between the two to settle this thing out. And I strongly suggested then, I strongly suggested 8 months ago, and when the first building went in, that you have a conversation with Mr. Parker to find out what's going on instead of putting the town in.
Right, but you allowed this big structure to be put
That-
there.
Ma'am, I'm not going to sit here and argue on TV with you, but you do this all the time.
You allowed this large structure to be put
Correct. I
there.
allowed that structure because it was within the limits that it was allowed.
It's over that.
Okay,
It's way over.
okay.
But can I just say one more thing? I'd like to know when the shed is going to be removed from next to my fence.
Mr. Parker is right there. Why don't you walk over and ask Mr. Parker?
Mr. Parker, when the shed is going to be removed, as it was supposed to be a few years ago from my fence? The concrete's in your garage and everything now.
I'll move the conforming shed when I'm done with the project. When you guys allow me to get done with the project, I'll move the shed.
The
The more time you
project-
try my project, the longer it's gonna stay there.
The project, you've been there for 5 years and
Really?
nothing's been
Well,
done.
why don't you find out what the pay is, the sale of
Well,
houses
just
is
about
not
5
5 years.
years.
It's not close to
You
5
haven't
years.
done anything except this garage. That was the first thing, and it went up so fast, and that should not have been put up there. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak regarding this application? Any other commentary from the board? Do I have a motion to approve this application?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Parker, you can follow up with the building department. Okay? Thank you.
Something else about the 8 feet that he was supposed to.
This, we've already closed out. We've already closed it out. Thank you. Next application up is that of Lisa Ciron and George Riggs. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
My name is Mike Gillespie from M. Gillespie and Associates.
Do you have a card?
I do not.
Okay.
From M. Gillespie and Associates, we're a consulting engineering firm. I'm here on behalf of the Siren and Riggs variance, or variances. Actually, they're both with us tonight. So the parcel is in the R80 zone. It's about 3.5 acres in size on South Knapp Court. The proposal includes the construction of a one-bay small garage for a vintage car, which they currently have. The site of the house is located effectively to the west of the parcel. They wanted to have the garage in the general vicinity of that. We've shown where the proposed garage is actually being proposed, and then in your cutout, there should be a kind of a rendering, 3D rendering of it. It's fairly simple, but it also complements the architecture of the house, which is fairly simple as well. Because of the proximity to the sideline and the front line, we are required to come here and obtain some variances. So we are looking for a front yard variance of 10.2 feet and a side yard variance of 14 feet.
I'll open it up to the board for any comments. Seems simple enough.
Can I see that, please?
Sure.
Sir, a question about the length of the garage that's planned to be put up, 30 foot. You just mentioned it's for one-car storage.
Yep.
I see in the back, I guess an egress or an egress doorway there. And I'm just curious if I could understand 30 foot versus I'm assuming the car's probably no more than 15 foot if it's even that long.
I could actually have Mr. George Riggs come in and maybe give the explanation on that. I don't
Sure.
want to,
I appreciate that, thank you.
I'd rather not guess.
Thank you.
So,
Sir, could you just state your name so I can address you, please?
my name is George Riggs.
George Riggs?
Yep.
Hello, Mr. Riggs.
So I've got it a little bit longer because I also work on bicycles for myself. I race bicycles. So before I came here, I had an extended garage. I measured out the length that I had, so I had room enough for the car, plus a little bit of space for a small workshop where I can, do work on the bikes and also do maintenance for the house. So that's why it's a little bit more than.
And I just want to reiterate, workshop, this is not an office area, this is a
No,
workshop.
no, it's not
right?
office. No, this is strictly, if I had a garage, that's what the space would be.
Thank you very much, sir, I
Yep.
appreciate it.
Just to make a note too, the existing home does not have any garage, so that's the reason.
Notice that, thank you.
Yep.
Anything else? Is there anyone here who would like to speak on behalf of this application? Anyone here who would like to speak on behalf of this application? Good? Yep. Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
I will certainly make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. You can follow up with the building department. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you, have a good evening. You're welcome, have a good evening, folks.
All right, next application up is Carlos Vincenti, 15 South Lake Road. Thank you. And while Mr. Rivera is signing in full disclosure, I know Mr. Rivera. Our kids, my son went to school with him, and fine family. We know the family as well, and I just wanted to get that out there.
Thank you very much, sir.
So tell us why you're here tonight.
So I'm here to apply for a 16-foot rear variance for a 10 by 30 deck with pressure-treated wood for the framing and composite decking rails, like Trex, and the rails are going to be composite as well.
Okay, now, you are aware, because we did have some communication today, that we were out to the property for a site visit on Sunday, okay? So we were not able to get anyone to answer questions for us, so we did take a look at the area. Am I correct in assuming that the proposed deck will go over above the two garage bays that are there?
Correct.
Okay. And will there, let me take a look at the drawings were, didn't find, you're gonna have a stairway coming down from that deck?
So the entranceway will be from the sliding doors that we are going to install, replacing the windows that are currently there. There will currently be no stairs installed from the ground to the top. It'll serve as a balcony structure rather than a deck per se, but it is made of decking and decking boards.
Okay, I'll open it up to the board.
So will there be access to the garage under the deck?
It'll just be the deck itself above the garage, and then the proposed structure will be able to allow as a balcony. So there will be no steps from the ground up to the deck balcony per se, but the entranceway will be accessed by the sliding doors that we will install shortly after.
But you can still get in and out of the garage, this is not going to block the
Oh,
garage.
they're not going to block the garage at all. Yeah, everything's going to be right above it.
And the sports part, I mean, is how many feet does it extend from the house?
For the variance,
No, from your house. How far does that?
my apologies, it's on the behalf of Rivera Construction Services, my company, and we're building it for Tricia Reyes, who is here right now, and Carlos Vicente, our customer. So do you want to know how far the deck will be?
We did look at it on Sunday, and so it's hard, you know, at first, front of the house and back of the house are sort of confusing because the road is actually to the back of the house.
Yes, correct. The rear of the house, when you see it from South Lake Road, is actually, you're looking at the rear of the house, and the front is on the hill and
Right.
in the back of a house.
Okay.
Yes.
So the distance, I mean, it was hard for me to imagine the deck, so I was not sure how far it was from the road, and also the support for the deck seemed like if it was, more than 10 feet, you'd need some sort of supports to hold the deck up.
So we're doing 3 footings, and then we're going to be using 4 DTTZ1s. You know, those, the clips that hang up to the ledger.
Okay.
So that's how we would be proposing the deck.
All right, got it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got no objection to this, but I just want to make sure that what we do tonight is properly reflected so that, when the property is sold down the road or, 20 years from now, some other building inspector knocks on the door, the record tonight correctly reflects what we're doing. And I think this is a front yard, because the front yard is defined as the yard facing the street. So I understand the house faces the other way, but this is the front yard.
The quote-unquote front yard. Yes, correct, sir.
So I'd want to make clear, I think, that you're really asking for a variance for the front yard, not the rear yard.
Correct. In terms of the filing, we put rear because that's what we had to put for the
Yeah, I mean, I just don't want
application,
us to do something and then, that's a problem later, because we're giving a rear variance when you really need a front variance.
yeah. Right, yeah, just the parcel data was what we were trying to make sure was right.
So I think it's a front variance, and as I understand it, you're going to be 16 feet from the road.
Yeah, rather than the 50 is the variance that we need to apply for.
Well, with a front yard, you'd only need a 40-foot setback.
Right, we were under the pretenses it was the rear trying to do the right thing for the application.
Right, and then the variance is not 16 feet. If you're 16 feet back, it's really a 24-foot variance.
Correct.
You're supposed to be 40.
Rather than
And
34.
if you're 16, it's a 24-foot variance. So
Correct.
I think what you're really asking for is a 24-foot variance for the front yard,
Correct.
not a 16-foot variance for the rear yard.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying for me.
So I just want to make sure that that's what we're all approving, so,
Yes.
there are no problems later.
Yeah, thank you so much. The technicalities were a little confusing at first, but
Yeah,
Yeah, and I noted it on the application too, 24-foot variance.
front variance, not rear. Yeah,
Yeah.
front. Yeah,
thank you, sir.
sure.
Anything else? Do I have a motion to approve this application? I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You all set? You can follow up with the building department.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Okay, next up, Carmel Central School District, Carmel Central School District, and Carmel Central School District.
Mr. Chairman, you're not going to do North Horse Pond Road?
Oh, I'm sorry, you are correct. 1071 North Horse Pound Road, since it is a 239M referral, has been held over till next month until we receive response from the county planning department. Thank you very much, Bill.
Thank you.
I think someone may have walked away with your sign-in sheets.
Do we Good evening.
Piece of paper? They're looking for a sign-in sheet, folks.
I think someone may have walked away with your sign-in sheet.
Oh, no.
No. Can I just provide a? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, ladies.
Mr. Rivera.
Thank you.
Last culprit up there. Mr. Rivera.
Get him in the parking lot.
Good evening. For the record, Jennifer Gray from the law firm of Keene and Bean. I'm here tonight with Jamie LaJudice from Insight Engineering and also Ron Yakin from Morrow. We're here tonight, we were here last month, I should mention, for the public hearing on 2 of our requested variances for the crane height and also outdoor storage height. We've added a 3rd variance to that request, which is a height variance for the proposed light poles at the rear of the property. And also folded into our application materials is a request for an interpretation on 2 items. One, to determine that the crane is not a building pursuant to the Kent zoning code. And second, to determine that the crane is not a non-conforming use. As you know, we have an application pending before the planning board. We are proceeding with that application. We anticipate that the planning board will be in a position to issue its secret negative declaration at its November meeting, which would put you in a position to be able to act on those variance requests at your November meeting, since your meeting falls after theirs. However, since, as we've discussed at previous meetings, the interpretation questions are not subject to SECRA, we'd ask if the board was in a position to make those interpretations tonight. We would welcome that opportunity to have those decisions taken care of tonight. I know that you all, or maybe not all of you, but some of you attended a site visit last week at the site to see the proposed layout, the staking of the crane location and the buildings. I hope that went well. Sorry I couldn't be there. And if you have any questions, we're happy to address those tonight.
No, I for one don't have any questions. I'll open it up to my fellow board members regarding this application. No? Okay. And we thank you for your cooperation, and the zoning board has concluded that the electric mobile crane does not meet the definition of a building as outlined in the zoning code. It is further determined that the crane is a conforming piece of equipment and exempt from the height restrictions. Regarding the storage, it has also been determined that the height request as stipulated is reasonable and necessary for storage of inventory, and therefore the variance for the outdoor storage is granted.
The variance for so the planning board has not yet completed its secret review.
Sorry.
No, yeah, I apologize. Thank you, Ms.
Yeah.
Gray. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
If you could.
We appreciate the efficiency of your board very much.
And retract your last statement, please.
So I'm going to retract that last statement until we hear from the planning board. My
Absolutely,
apologies.
absolutely.
And thank you, Bobby.
Thank you.
It totally slipped my mind when I came in this evening. But for the purposes of the crane, as I said, it does not meet the threshold of a building, and it is a conforming piece of equipment according to this board. With that in mind, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve this application.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, as I've said before, that I am going to have to recuse myself because of a relationship between the firm from which I retired and Morrow, so I will not be
Understood.
saying anything.
Thank you.
And you want to do a roll call vote?
Yeah.
Okay.
You still need a motion? I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Yes, me, second.
Okay, please do a roll call vote.
Chairman Rocio,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Rico,
Aye.
Mr. Hewlett,
Yes.
Mr. Wells,
Abstain?
Mr. Bosworth.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Now, I believe you have another application up regarding lighting, is that correct?
That's correct. We do have a pending variance application before you for the light poles at the rear of the property. The code currently restricts light pole height to 20 feet, and we're asking for those poles to be 35 feet, and that's to accommodate the outdoor storage of the equipment at the back of the site, which is proposed at a height of 32 feet. So we want the light poles to be obviously a little bit
And that is before the planning
higher.
board as well, correct?
The light poles are shown, yes, on the plans before the planning board, yes.
Okay, so we'll get an update on that.
Absolutely.
Ms.
Okay.
Griggs,
All right.
if I may, one question in reference to the light poles. I know we had discussed it, I believe it was in a previous meeting. As far as the section it conforms to, there was a change. I just want to make sure we're all in agreement with that. Section 77-44.3, and I believe it should be C as in Charles, not E as in Edward, is that correct?
I believe it's E1C.
E1C? Thank you
Right.
for clarifying that.
Sure.
Terrific. I guess we could say we'll be looking forward to hearing from the planning board, as I'm sure you will too.
We are very much, yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Have a
We
good
appreciate
night.
your time tonight.
Be well.
Mr. Chairman, you want to make a motion about the light? Or you holding that off until the planning board?
Yes, the application regarding the light poles are pending before the planning board, so we're going to hold this over until we hear from the planning board.
I'm sorry, can I just clarify, the application for all the variances, right? The outdoor storage height and the light poles are held over to next month?
That's correct.
Correct, okay, thank you.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Good night, Jane.
Have a good night.
Good night, Mark.
All right, is there anything else before the board? Vera, you have no minutes for us, correct? No. Okay. All right, there's no other business before the board. Do I have a motion to dismiss? A motion to close, I'm sorry.
I'll make that motion to close the meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll see you in November. Good night.